And good morning the internet, and good morning to my subscriber. And I've just left my campsite and that lovely little private bay, and when I first arrived I only meant to stay for one night, but when I went down to where the camping pitches were for the tents, I went straight back to reception and says, nope, staying here for 3 nights, and that's what I did. So I've stayed for 3 nights, and for the past 2 days I've done absolutely nothing except drink tea, eat biscuits. I've snaffled 2 bags of Haribo, drunk lots of tea and read my Kindle, and it's been superb. So I've been really chilled out. I've recharged my batteries. I don't know, I don't get tired, but sometimes you sort of get a little bit weary of travelling one place to the next. Look at this view, beautiful, isn't it? So in any case, this is supposed to be a holiday, so why not do a little bit of chilling out? So that's what I did for the past 3 days. I've done absolutely nothing. Been swimming a couple of times. There was a shop just in the little village there, so the day after you arrived I went down the shop and got all my bits and pieces. I had enough food anyway, but I just needed extra things like Haribo Star Mix. I love Haribo Star Mix. In Europe they do Haribo Crocodiles. I like them as well. Anyway, last night about 4 o'clock another motorcycle arrived, a Yamaha Tenere, and it had 2 people on it from New Zealand, Joanna and Mick. Hello there. So last night we all sat down together and we put the world to rights. Fantastic. I've not spoken, I've been away now a good few weeks, and I've had little conversations here and there with people, but I've not spoke properly to people for weeks and weeks. And so it was really good last night being able to sit down and talk to 2 normal human beings in your own language. But they're from Australia and they're in Europe for 6 months. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. They're leaving here today, heading north, and they're heading over to Italy. Yeah, but they're just doing it. They're absolutely doing it. No messing around. 6 months, and they've been all over the place, and that's the way to do it. So what am I doing today? I'm just about to stop at this red light because obviously it's a single lane around the corner. So today I'm just heading north. I've got a rough idea where I want to be. It's about 350 kilometres, so today is going to be one of those big jump days where I do a lot of riding. About half of it is going to be on roads like this, and about half of it is going to be on motorway. So I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye. Hello, little fella. Hey, you alright? internet, and hello to my subscriber. And just behind me there is Mount Olympus. It's huge, honestly it's huge, and that's where in the ancient stories, that's where Zeus and all the other gods lived, on top of that mountain. So today has been a busy old day. Left the campsite early this morning, and I've rode about 375 kilometres, and it's been one of those days where I've done a bit of a big jump, and I've found this great little campsite. And just behind me there, there's a little chapel, a little Orthodox chapel, and it's like a park really. And just over there, there's a little village, and this is the park for the village. And what you can do, you can stay over, you can camp, you can have camper vans, and they've even got some toilets and showers stuck over there in the corner, which are actually quite decent. And it doesn't cost anything. What they've got is an honesty box, so you just contribute what you want to contribute. So yeah, it's been a good day. I left my campsite about 8 o'clock, and then I got here about after 1, got the camp up, nipped into the village to the shop, get a cool drink and some milk, and I've just been chilling out here, and I'm just going to stay here tonight, because tomorrow I'm going to ride around Mount Olympus, and I'm going to head north again. I may go to Turkey tomorrow, may not. I think probably what I will do, I may go to Thessaloniki. I may stay there a night, maybe 2 nights, I don't know. See how I feel tomorrow. But yeah, it's been a good day today. About 375 kilometres. About a third of it was on sort of rural roads, which was quite fun. And the rest of it was just on motorway. If you need to do a big jump, some days you just got to go on the motorway. That's the logic of it really. If you just go on the little road, it's just going to take you all day. And once I left where I was and got into the middle bit of Greece, it's just agricultural. So anyway, this is me, almost in northern Greece. I've come up, I'm almost in northern Greece, and very shortly I'm just going to hang a right and head towards Thessaloniki. So thanks for watching, I'll speak to you soon, bye bye.
And good morning the internet. It's 7:30 in the morning. That's Mount Olympus, and in historical times that's where all the Greek gods used to live, just right on top there. Now there's nothing but 4G masts. I bet Zeus is turning in his grave. Anyway, it's 7:30 in the morning and I'm heading north. I only intended to stay at that campsite for 1 night, but I stayed for 2 because it was really peaceful. And just up here is a nice little village with a shop where you could get everything. And there was lots of shade. So yesterday I just lazed around. I went to the shop early on, got some Scooby snacks and some milk and some bits and pieces. And I just lazed around all day reading my Kindle and looking at Mount Olympus and kind of putting the world to rights, you know what I mean? You know, when you're doing things like this, you can go jump, you know, camp a night, move on, camp a night, but I don't know, but this is not an endurance race. I'm just, you know, taking my time and seeing how things work out. So it's been a good couple of days. Anyway, I'm slowly but surely I'm heading north, and I'm heading north now towards Thessaloniki. I'm going to bypass it, and I was debating with myself yesterday, should I stop at Thessaloniki or should I bypass it? The nearest campsite is about 20-30 kilometres away, and it doesn't get a good review, to be honest. And there was 3 hostels in Thessaloniki. 2 get a okay, like, you know, a bit iffy, and 1 gets a good write up with parking as well for motorcycles. But to tell the truth, there's not a great deal I'd want to see in Thessaloniki. There's a clock tower or something, there's a bit of a castle, and there's a museum, and it's just like a normal city, really. And I thought, well, is there any point? So I'm going to bypass it. I'm going to head a bit further along, heading east, and somewhere later on today I'll be near the Turkish border, probably about 100 kilometres from the Turkish border, and then hopefully tomorrow or the day after I'll cross over into Turkey. So yeah, 7:30 in the morning, it's nice and cool, nothing on the roads, and it's really nice. In fact, I woke up about 5:45 this morning, so I had a leisurely breakfast, nice long cup of tea, let me kindle for a while, then got packed up, ready to go. I could have left about 7 o'clock, to be honest, but there's no rush. What's the rush, you know? So right, I'm going to put some music on and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye. Good morning, the internet. That was Camping Alexandros. On the website it said Paradise by the Sea. It was alright. If you like the beach, because they've got all the beach chairs there, you can go on the beach and stuff like that, but it was okay. It was okay. And for 14 euros, I can't grumble, to be honest. So, I got there about 1:30 yesterday. It was starting to get hot. I'd had enough of riding, so I decided to pull in. Found that campsite. I just had a leisurely afternoon. It's 8:30 in the morning. I was ready at 7:30. 8 o'clock came, no one at reception, so I started walking around, and then I saw someone carrying a bucket, so I said I want to leave, and they said okay. I went to get somebody else. Anyway, finally got someone else. I paid to leave because you have to give your passport or an identification card as like a deposit. So paid, got my passport back, and that's it. And it's now 8:30 and I'm on the road. So I've had sort of an hour of hanging around really, which wasn't bad. I was sat on a wall like Humpty Dumpty in the shade, a little bit of a breeze, so no problem. So I'm heading east, and where are we going? In about 250 kilometers in this direction is Turkey. Yeah. Yesterday I was going to stay at a place called Alexandropolis, which is not far from the Turkish border. But to be honest, I'd had enough yesterday. I'd been riding for about 5 hours, 4.5 hours. I'd had enough, so let's call it a day. So, what time? So I'm going to get to the border about 11. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it should be okay. It's a Sunday. Mind you, Sundays a lot of families pass backwards and forwards. We'll see anyway. It is what it is. So they had a wedding on there last night, because besides the campsite and the taverna, they've got a big restaurant, and there was a wedding which kicked off at about 9 o'clock last night. The first song they played was Whiskey in the Jarro by Thin Lizzy. I'm in Greece and they play Whiskey in the Jarro by Thin Lizzy as the first song. Amazing. Anyway, at 3 AM the karaoke was still going strong. I sort of went off about midnight-ish, and then I woke up again and I looked at the watch, it's 3ish, and there was someone still warbling away. Then I managed to get off again. So I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. It is what it is. So that's me heading east. Speak to you. I'm going to put some music on now, so I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye. And there we go, I'm in Turkey. Hello Turkey. I don't know the Turkish for hello. Well, that was quite an easy process. Get stamped out of Greece, out of the EU, and then you go through to the Turkish border. Just as you come to where the passport barriers are, there's a large building. If you just go off to the left there through a door, there's an office where you get your insurance. They won't let you into Turkey without insurance. If you've already got insurance, then fine, but if you haven't, go to the insurance office. There's no messing around. It's 1 month, and it was €70 for 1 month. No 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's 1 month, €70 for 1 month, and that's your insurance. Come out, then you go to one of the booths. You can't go through on the vehicle, you've got to go there, walk up to it, give them your passport and the documents for the motorbike. You get your picture taken, they scan your passport, then you go to the next hole in the wall, that's customs. They'll take your passport and your documents again, and your new insurance documents. They'll log you into the country, and then that's you. Get the bike, and then you sort of skedaddle through. They open the barrier, and away you go. It took about half an hour, not a problem at all. And then once you go through, there's another barrier at the end where you've got to show all your documents again, and they check that you're actually on the system. And then once they've done that, you're through. And I am now in Turkey with 1 month's insurance. So what can I do in 4 weeks? Well, see lots of things, that's the main thing, and have some fun. So here we are, it's 10 to 11. 10 to 11, where am I going? I've got 130 kilometres till I get to my campsite, and then I'm going to stay there for a few days. So, hello Turkey!
And hello the internet, and hello to my subscriber. I'm on this little campsite high up over the Straits of Dardanelles, and just behind me you see got the Dardanelles Straits behind me, and that way leads up to Istanbul, and that way leads out to the Adriatic. So I'm at Kilitbihir, which is right on the southern tip of the Gallipoli Peninsula, and it's nice and peaceful. So today the ride was really easy. It was about 350 kilometres, no problem at all. Strange thing, when I started making my way north from southern Greece, I joined the motorway about an hour north of Athens, and the motorways are toll roads all the way. And yeah, today I jumped on a bit of toll road, and I thought this is weird, and all the way on these toll roads they've been empty, completely empty. Whether it's the wrong time of the year or whether people don't want to pay the tolls, I don't know. And generally each toll probably about 20-50 kilometres. It's probably about €1.35 for the motorbike, so it's not actually expensive. I don't know, maybe the Greeks just don't want to pay it. But all the way from Athens, the toll roads are completely empty. You get the odd car, the odd little clump of maybe 2 or 3 cars, the odd truck. But anyway, so I'm here. 350 kilometres. It wasn't a hard ride today. Found the campsite, and we're just over the Dardanelles. And I got here, it was strange because you got these massive big ships going past. Really weird. You feel as though you can just reach out and touch them. So this is quite an important area because, like World War I, 1915, there was a lot of history took place in this part of the world. So I like history, and there's nothing like going to a place and you can conceptualize it a little bit more. So that's the reason why I'm in this part of the world. So there's a couple of museums I want to see, and there's some other sites that I want to see as well, and I'll do that over the next couple of days. So this is me next to the Straits of Gallipoli. I think Istanbul, going that way, it's about 300 kilometres, 250 kilometres, so it's not that far away, to be honest. But so I'm going to be here doing some touristy stuff. Today the trip wasn't very interesting, to be honest, mostly motorway. I shot a little bit of video. For the past couple of days it's not been that interesting because I've been on the motorway, but sometimes you've got to do big jumps, and if you want to do a big jump you've got to go on the motorway. So now I'm in Turkey, I'm going to be sticking to the A and B roads a lot more, so the footage will be a little bit more interesting. So thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.